It's nice to see you all here, and it's great that the weather is much better than it was yesterday. So yeah, my name is Anton. I'm doing some marketing voodoo magic at tinyBuild, and I'm going to be talking about probably one of the most important and the most difficult beats of your game's life cycle, which is its announcement or re-announcement. So we will cover several case studies from tinyBuild's portfolio that we're working on, and we'll also cover several tactics that you can use in announcing your game. First of all, these are some of the games that released last month in May 2024. You know most of them, but this is just a very small part. Can anyone take a guess and tell me how many games in total have released last month on Steam? Just take a guess. Let's talk. Anyone? 10,000. Anyone else? 2,000. From 2 to 10. Okay. So it's still a lot. Almost 2,000 games, if we count, released last month, and it's a lot. It means that the competition is very fierce, and it will only get harder and harder for you to compete with other games, especially with what's going on in AAA, and that the development tools are more and more democratized. So what does it mean? It means that when you actually announce your game, you will be out there fighting for the spotlight with a lot of other teams. And please raise your hand if you are working on a game right now and you are planning to announce it to the public in the next 12 months. Yeah. So, yeah, that's terrifying, right? So you have to announce your game, and you have to make the world care about it. So how do you do that? Disclaimer, there is unfortunately no silver bullet for it. For example, you cannot just buy a sponsored slot at like PC gaming show and call it a day and be like, yep, that covers it. And we're talking about PC first, premium titles for Steam today, so no free-to-play, no mobile, because that's an entirely different story. And these are the titles in what's called AAA to AA range. So they fall within 200,000 USD to around 3 million USD total budget. You can only control your preparations, but not results. So there is always a factor of the stars aligning, luck, whatever you call it, even if you are really well prepared. And unfortunately, again, no amount of marketing can save a game that just does not fit the market. It does not mean that you're a bad developer, that the game is bad, but sometimes there are factors outside of your control, and those can influence your launch. You probably heard the story of a solo developer who wanted to release the game on Steam, and on the same day, Electronic Arts dropped like 10 games from Command & Conquer franchise, and they buried the little game on Steam. No one could predict that. And the market is changing really rapidly, so everything we're talking about today is relevant for summer 2024. And it's a really good idea to work with a partner who can help you navigate through these waters, because, yeah, whatever comes next, we don't know. So this is what we're going to do. I will tell you more about some tactics that can be useful for revealing your game. Again, if you're a small studio and you are working on your reveal, you want to know how to nail it. My goal with this presentation is to try and make sure that you have a toolkit that you can use practically and apply it to your project. And then we will cover some case studies. Let's start with a foolproof recipe for successful reveal. There are several tactics that, if you can nail them down, they will certainly raise your chances at success. But one of these tactics is BS, so let me know which one. Take a look and guess. Yeah, so yeah, can spend 300-400 hours in meeting rooms just discussing it, but it will probably not help you. And we will start from the Steam page. Steam page is basically your website. It's your game's passport. It's your biggest place where all the traffic will go and convert into sales. There are 4 key pillars for a successful Steam page: a good capsule, short description, screenshots, and page optimization. I am excluding trailer from screenshots, because trailer is entirely its own story. And we will cover everything. Capsule. The capsule is the key art that players see on Steam. It's their first step in the funnel when they want to know what your game is about. It needs to have a focal point, so where your eyes are gravitating towards when they look at the art. It needs to be readable, so make sure that you have a high contrast background and a highly readable logo. And your key art or capsule needs to tell a story. It has to be dynamic, it has to be fun to look at, it has to be interesting enough so the person can spend a couple seconds before they click. So for example, one of our games, Streets of Rock 2, one of the case studies that we'll cover, you can immediately tell that it's a fun game that you can probably play in co-op, and the characters are fleeing the police after a bank heist, so you can do some crazy stuff. You immediately see how the game is called, and it's pretty memorable. The capsule is very important because, again, it's what players will see across the entirety of Steam in different formats, from main header to usual capsule to miniature. This is where you need to catch the eye, so make sure that you focus on that. Short description. Short description is the text that appears under your capsule, and it's basically your elevator pitch. I have something that I call 3W rule. What is this game? What do you do in this game? What's the gameplay loop? And why is this game unique? So these 3 rules can help you write a copy that is within 300 character limit that's set by Steam. By the way, it's for all languages, so when you localize, you need to take care of that as well. Another example, Killmakers. Great project from our portfolio. What is this game? It's an action strategy sandbox, so the player can immediately place it in a mental bucket. What do you do in this game? You build your own kingdom, you grab a gun, and you lead a huge army into battle. And why is this like nothing else in this genre? Because you actually play as an army guy who travels back in time to medieval Europe to change the course of history with modern weapons, which is a crazy premise. Screenshots. Screenshots need to communicate the way players interact with your game. So you need to show UI. Some developers are a bit nervous because, like, hey, my UI is not final, it looks ugly, I don't want to show it. If you're not a AAA title, you should show your UI because players need to understand what they will see when they open up the game, even if it's not final. So yeah, this is not the final UI for Streets of Rock 2, but this screenshot is on our Steam page, and it clearly communicates one of the mechanics that you can cook food that brings you different buffs. Your screenshots also need to be varied, and that's very important because if you show like a couple of similar screenshots, some players might think that your game does not have enough content variety or it does not create enough unique situations. In some extreme cases, they might even think that it's like an asset flip from Unreal Store or whatnot. So make sure that you show variety. It's also important to focus on the first 4 screenshots that you upload in your backend. The reason being, so these 4, right after the trailers in your carousel. Why is it important? Because Steam uses the first 4 screenshots to create this slideshow that appears across the whole Steam store when you hover over the game. So they are interested in your capsule, they hover on it, and they can see the first 4 screenshots. Then they decide if they want to click. And then on to the Steam page optimization. So this is the page for level 0 extraction. And what I mean by optimization is everything that's going on under the wishlist button. So your about the game section, custom section, where you ask people to join your Discord, etc., etc. So when you describe your game in more detail in the about the game section, make sure to use gameplay GIFs that communicate clearly what's it like to play your game. These should be gameplay GIFs. So no CG. Again, if you don't have the gameplay to show yet, at least show the vibe of the game, the aesthetics. Widgets. Widgets are a great tool that can optimize your funnel, because if we look at the Steam page as a website, as a landing page, which it kind of is, you might remember, like from opening up like an online store or something, you have the button to buy in the upper side of the website, in the middle side, and in the lower side. And Steam does not allow it, so you only have the wishlist button up there near the trailer and screenshots, but we can tweak this. So this is the about the game section for level 0 extraction. It kind of explains the game, it's fine. Let's add a widget that you can add by just implementing the HTML link to your game into the text editor. And let's level it up and add this. So now it's really hard to miss the add to wishlist button. And this will significantly help you with funneling the players into wishlist in the game. We use it a lot. It's a great little trick, so just steal it. Search engine optimization. Not a lot of players and developers know that Steam is actually a very potent search engine, and it has a whole bunch of algorithms that are specifically geared towards keywords and text. So a small exercise, the same description for the game. Can you count the amount of marketing-oriented, optimized keywords that are put here in order to optimize the algorithmic evaluation of the page while I sip my tea? Who counted? Anyone? 15. A little bit below that, so at least 10. These words are self-explanatory, like people search for them, they know these words. These words appear on other pages, and all of this is picked up by Steam algorithms. Tags. Tags are also very important. When you open up any page, you can see 4 to 5 tags under the short description of the game. And these tags are what helps the players put the game into one of the genre-specific buckets. And they're used by the Steam algorithm to recommend games to players who own other games. They are mostly posted by users, and they are graded by their weight. So as many users post them, the more users post them, the more weight each tag has. However, you can tweak this as well by going to your Steamworks backend and using the magic of Tag Wizard. This is a very neat tool in Steamworks that allows you to tag your game and navigate exactly how Steam will treat it. So a little trick, which I learned from Chris Zukowski. His blog, howtomarketagame.com, is great. I really recommend it. You go out there and compile a list of key competitors for your title, like the games that you look at while you prepare your plan, and just write down 10 most used tags from each of those games. Compile them into a table, and just go and look which of these tags are used the most. This is your top 10. Then you can add more and more, to create top 20. So after you're done, you can see this screen, which shows 8 games that Steam thinks are the closest to your title. This selection changes, and this will change depending on what tags are applied by the players. But in this screen, you can drag and drop the tags. They also go from top to bottom, depending on their weight, and the selection changes. So once you're happy with your company, so to speak, just hit publish and you're golden. Trailer. Trailer is probably the biggest asset that people will remember after interacting with your announcement. It's really important. So let's talk about the trailer really quick. You need to show your hook as soon as possible. Please skip long panning shots. Please skip your studio logo for 4 seconds on the screen. It might sound not great, but players on Steam really want to see what the game is about as soon as possible. Just get to the point and show gameplay. Think about the first 3 to 5 seconds of the trailer specifically, for the simple reason that our brains are completely fried by the internet and social media, and we live in a world of 5-second attention spans. So you have to grab attention really quickly. And try to tell a coherent story in under 2 minutes for the same reason, basically. Don't expect people to stay for longer than 2 minutes with your first trailer. You need to sell them the idea as soon as you can. And gameplay is king. CG is great, animation is great, but for the first trailer that you show to the public, please show how it is to play your game. And be confident with your call to action. A lot of developers, especially small indie teams, they feel like doing marketing is sleazy, shady, like we don't want to bother people, but you need to sell your game. You need to sell your game so that you can create the next one. And each time you communicate with your player, please ask them to do something. Ask them to join your Discord. Ask them to sign up for a newsletter, or just wishlist the game. Don't be shy about this. It helps. Community. Community is priceless for each game. Start building it from day 0, even before you started working on your reveal. Start dropping some GIFs, like screenshots, concepts. Hey, this is a game we're working on. This is our idea. This is what you do here. And you can see that people will start coming and taking a look and joining the community and follow your game. And this is what will propel you forward in the future. If you are on limited resources in the team, if you do community in the evening after you've done your art or programming or whatnot, focus on Discord and Steam. These are by far, in our experience, by far the most effective ways of communicating with the players directly. And these are the platforms where the players are the most engaged. Twitter and TikTok are very peculiar platforms where you have free tickets to virality, like Willy Wonka's golden tickets. You just need to find them. It's easier said than done. But the only thing that I can say here is that don't give up. If your first 10 tickets, TikToks, Twitter posts, they don't go viral, it doesn't mean that you should stop. Please keep posting about your game. Look for new angles, new ways to show your gameplay. Talk about you as the devs. And yeah, don't be like this guy. Content creators and media. These are the people who tell about your game after you tell them about your game. Hands-on is better than 1,000 words. You can tell about your game in a great press release or great posts, blog posts, whatever. Let them play it. And please start thinking about your campaign way ahead. Don't think that you will prepare everything in a week. Start thinking about it like 3 months in advance. If your game is announced in March, start planning your influencer efforts, your PR, your trailer at least in January, you will save a lot of nerve cells and you will get less gray hair. When you approach content creators and press, think like them. Think like a content creator, like a YouTuber or an editor of an outlet. What I mean by that is put yourself in their shoes and ask yourself, will covering this game bring our platform or my channel more views, more likes? Will it be interesting to my audience? So find an angle that will lead them to say, yes, it will. And you should always have at least a basic media kit to help those people create their content, the articles, the videos. So just a trailer, a logo with a transparent background, black and white version, some gameplay screenshots, layered key art in PSD so they can move things around, and a thumbnail kit, a bunch of pictures that can help YouTubers create a thumbnail for their video so you can save them some time. Showcases. These are a great way to announce your game if you find the right fit and the right showcase. If you are lucky to get into any showcase, but especially in one of the big ones, finalize the trailer at least 1 month before the date. So Gamescom opening night live happens in late August this year, 24th or something. So if you get there, please make sure that your trailer is done by late July. First impression is very important, so you need to have a strong pitch here as well. I always say that you should treat organizers of the showcases like investors or publishers. So gather your indication of traction in the form of subscribers, Discord server members, your wishlist velocity, whatever you have. Offer a trailer draft with gameplay. It does not have to be final, it just has to show how the game looks like. And you can also tell them about any synergy that you create around the announcement, like, are you launching a crowdfunding campaign? Are you going to have a demo that influencers can play? Do you want to launch into a Steam fest, like a genre-specific fest? Tell them about it. Do you want to do a giveaway of keys, merch, whatever? Best showcases for indies in our experience. These all are great. The Game Awards pre-show is it's a North Star, but I can say that Jeff Keighley pays attention to small, weird, cool-looking games with a very strong hook and a very strong art direction. So it's not impossible. Indie World is great. AAA Initiative is a new thing that happened a couple months ago. It's a new showcase, but it's very good. It's organized by the people behind Dead Cells, and it did wonders for us. PC Gaming Show is great. The big one in June is also great, and of course Gamescom. Demo. So here's where we delve a little bit into development side of things, but they're interconnected. First playable at your announcement is always great. So that's like a rule of thumb. If you can announce your game with something to let players try, awesome. You can also use Steam playtest functionality. Read the documentation on Steamworks. It's great for gathering data, for preparing for your demo. They have a whole bunch of functions that really help you. And you can also try and arrange your announcement around some of the genre-specific fests on Steam. Please don't announce your game before Steam Next Fest, which runs now, June, October, February. It's very big. It's the exam for Steam demos. But if you see something like this, if you have a game about a plane, like a tiny little cute plane, you should apply here. It does not have to have trains and automobiles, but it works. If you have a playable at reveal, you can start iterating as soon as you announce. It's very important. It will help your next fest demo. It will help with gathering feedback, and your community will really help you nail down all the nooks and crannies of your build. The demo immediately buffs everything you do with content creators and media. Number one question that we receive after like pitching a game, like a new announcement, is like, okay, cool, sounds great, can we play it? So if you can answer yes to that, that's great. Especially for multiplayer games, I would advise to start gathering sign-ups for a beta or playtest or whatever, so you will have healthy CCU, and you will actually have players in the matchmaking pool, so they don't have to like waste 40 minutes waiting for a lobby. First-time user experience is very important. A lot of players, like the majority of players, drop off from the game in the first 10 to 20 minutes. So pay attention to these first 10 minutes. Do they understand how to play your game? Do they understand what makes your game unique? Give your game to friends or to anyone who tries now here and ask them, did you understand in the first 10 minutes what's going on? Are you interested to play more after the first 10 minutes? And also you should funnel players into the main SKU from the demo by placing a big shiny wishlist button in two places specifically. One is near the play button, so you hope that every player who installed the game, installed the demo, they will push the play button. So place a wishlist button near that one. And also before they close it, before the game asks, are you sure you want to exit to desktop, place it there. If they like it, there is a chance they will go to your Steam page, they will not forget about it, and they will add the game to their wishlist. The game itself. The game that you're working on, that you're publishing, is your biggest marketing asset, by far. Marketing is, you could say, it's a multiplier, it's a modifier, but there are two variables in this equation. So the first one is your game, and the second one is whatever you do with marketing. And you can multiply something by 10, 20, 100, 1,000, but as soon as the first variable is, for example, below 1, you will get diminishing results. So the game is very important. Is your game a looker, or do you need to prove it? It's a question that determines how you would approach to finding your product market fit. What I mean is, here is tinyGuild, amazing game where you create lush landscapes, beautiful castles by just drawing them. You immediately understand what's going on. This is a looker, a game that can sell itself in one GIF. And here is Factorio, which does not look very sexy to a lot of players, but it earned more than $100 million. So some games require a demo to shine, and some can sell its idea with one screenshot or one concept art. Can you deliver a playable build? If not, weigh everything and think maybe it's worth delaying the reveal a bit. However, having said that, sometimes you're actually ready for reveal sooner than you think. You get this tunnel vision, especially if you're an indie studio and you do your own marketing. You're like, okay, this is not good enough. We need to polish it a bit more, just one more week, one more month. You need to get out of this tunnel vision zone, show your game to other people, and you might get surprised and understand that it's actually already looking pretty neat. So you might want to just go and show it to the world. And you need to check your product market fit as soon as you can. And that harkens back to playtests, to demos. Take a look at how people play your game, how long do they play your game, because playtime is the biggest factor for Steam algorithms nowadays. Steam looks at how many hours you spend in the game and determines how much traffic your game will get. Again, use the playtest functionality. And now to case studies. So 3 games, all of them are great. Love all of them and all of our games from the portfolio, but these are my darlings, my babies. Streets of Rock 2, Level 0 Extraction, and Kingmakers, amazing titles, but they had very different challenges ahead of them. Some of them were announced, some of them were re-announced, hence the title of the presentation, but they are quite big for us, and we are very excited about them. And let's dive in. So the first case is Level 0 Extraction by Dog Howl Games. Amazing studio, just one of the most productive teams I've ever worked with, to be honest. This was initially announced as an asymmetrical PvP horror game way back. And throughout the development, the game pivoted to a multiplayer extraction horror, and a novel idea that, spoiler, works really well. We are the second most played demo at the Steam Next Fest, the current one. So our challenge was, we have a game that was already announced. It already has a community that expects one thing, and we're pivoting it to another thing. So how to reignite the interest and reveal new concept without alienating the fans. So what we did, first of all, coming back to everything about the Steam page, we did a full brand refresh, created a new identity for the game, moved a bit from the survival horror into PvP, weapons, added the extraction subtitle, which helped us immensely with explaining to press and influencers what it is, and also with algorithms on the store, because it's an amazing keyword in itself. We've done an extensive PR campaign and a hands-on influencer campaign. We organized remote sessions on Discord where YouTubers played the game, and while they were playing, they shared their feedback with the devs directly, which helped a lot. And we announced a closed beta right when we announced the pivot. So, okay, this was this, now it's a new thing. Come and join us and try it out. So, show, not tell. The closed beta went really well, and it provided the devs with a lot of invaluable feedback that helped us with the open beta, which now performs really well. This is about publishing a playable as soon as you can, starting your iteration cycle, gathering data, gathering feedback. Case 2 is Streets of Rogue 2, developed by Matt Dabrowski. It's a sequel to a critically acclaimed roguelike game, Streets of Rogue, which is an amazing title, one of the best roguelikes ever made. And with the second game, it gets much bigger. It's now open world, it's much more sandbox, it's in much more of an RPG. And the game was announced a long time ago with one single GIF that you can see on the screen. And this single GIF worked wonders. It brought us like more than 20,000 wish lists in one day. That's because the players loved the first one. However, we needed to go bigger and tell a more broader audience about the game. And so what we've done to move it from a hidden gem of the roguelike genre to the must-have indie sandbox of 2024. Again, full brand refresh. I cannot stress this enough, but your Steam page is your biggest asset. Combined with the trailer, like it needs to be nailed down. So, self-explanatory. And because the game is a sequel to a great indie title, and it should not be like super big, but if you have good traction, chances are you can get into one of the showcases through the editorial pipeline. You won't have to pay anything. So we got into Gamescom opening night live pre-show with a great trailer, with some animation, with focus on crazy gameplay. It went really well. It brought a lot of eyeballs from the press and influencers on the game that haven't heard about the first one, which was our main goal. And it made things easier for the Steam algorithm after a lot of outlets wrote about the game and they covered the Gamescom opening night live. Our daily active wishlist went up by 35%. That's like your baseline when you're doing nothing. Whatever you gain every day is your baseline. And we also actively engaged the existing community of the game. Don't forget that if you are working on a game and you have some titles that you've already developed, don't forget about the players. They already know you, they know your team, they know your games, and chances are very high that they will be interested to follow you and see what you have to offer next. Case 3, Kingmakers. an insanely cool concept, and we are very excited about this title. It's a mix of a third-person shooter and an RTS strategy, again, where you play as an elite task force operator sent back to medieval times to change history with M4. And it's developed by Redemption Road, extremely talented studio. And the challenge was that we had to announce the game as soon as we could in 2024. We had to work around the production pipeline that was set. The game is releasing this year into early access. And we needed to ensure that the marketing campaign is as long as we can do it, basically. So the game has enough time to gather wish lists. And we also wanted to make sure that the campaign is kickstarted on a high note. So what we did, the concept kind of sells itself. So we just focused all our branding efforts on a single hook. This is a moment from Army of Darkness film, from the Evil Dead saga, where Ash shows the modern gun to medieval people, and that's one of our most used memes in the community about the boomstick. And the game is all about, what if you bring your boomstick to the medieval times? So think about what your game does to set itself apart from everything else in your genre. The trailer that we posted massively subverted expectations. The pickup truck going from the modern times into the past, it blew people away. On the first day, in the first hour after the embargo, we opened Games Radar, and it's just gold. You're really happy when you see headlines like this. And for our paid media campaign, to support the awareness, we didn't have a playable at the reveal, but we had a great trailer, and we used it to support the reveal on fast consumption platforms, like we call them, Reddit, X, TikTok. Why those specifically? Because this guy again. You need to sell your idea as soon as possible, and these three are great for that. So, how did all of this go? It went well for all of the games. This is like, everyone likes graphs. This is how the games are doing. And we had a lot of experience with fests on Steam, with announcements, but still these three titles taught us new things. And yeah, we really hope that you check them out. And if you have time until the end of the weekend, Level Zero Extraction still runs its open beta. Go check it out. And in case you've slept through the whole talk, or you were on your phone and you just want one slide to take a photo of, you can snap this one. I won't spend too long on this. This is just recommendations, like a tier list of what to do and what not to do when you reveal your indie game. If you want to discuss it more, you can catch me after the presentation, but also useful as a cheat sheet. And yep, thank you for your time, and pitch us your games. Looking forward to it. And if you have any questions about marketing games on Steam, go ahead.
We have good time for questions now. Well, I'll start with the first one. You have, before tinyBuild, you have been with other publishers as well. How have you seen your the tools as well as the ecosystem for marketing games change throughout these multiple companies that you have been working with in the past?
It's a great question. I would say that the biggest difference that you can draw between indie titles on Steam and, for example, AAA games or free-to-play games is that we are all playing on the same field of Steam, and Steam controls a lot of the tools, the flow, the amount of data that you can see about the user, and it's very pro-consumer. It's very good for privacy, but it creates more challenges for transparency. So basically, you cannot you can't always see exactly where the people are coming from and why do they convert into wish lists before the game launches. And if you look at the games like World of Warcraft, for example, Blizzard has its own launcher, Battle.net, and it means that if you want to get into the game, you have to install their own launcher, which is not Steam. And they own all of the data on the user, which allows you to be much more efficient and laser-focused with the marketing. And when it comes to Steam, it's more about creating a great brand and finding a way to tell about this brand in the best way possible to people, to influencers, to press, to showcase organizers, to publishers, first-party platforms, etc. And that's what I actually really love about Steam and PC market at large.
All right, do we see hands in the audience? There's one right there.
Thank you for the talk.
Thank you.
You mentioned that the overall title was announcement and re-announcement, but would you have some suggestions or ideas what you will do for one, but definitely will not do for another?
Do I understand correctly, what would I recommend for the announcement and re-announcement?
No, what you will suggest for announcement, but not for re-announcement, or vice versa?
Great question. If you're in a situation where you already have a game that's out there, but it's not getting traction that you want, and you want to re-announce it as something else, I would recommend to focus on the message that you send to your community specifically, to the people that are already interested in your game, and explain to them clearly why you decided to pivot, why you decided to change the concept, and why is it still exciting for them, so you don't lose those people. You will still lose some of them, but I would say that explaining the reasoning behind your decision to change the game is important. I would also highly recommend playing around a new identity for the game when you re-announce it to the existing audience. And some developers are actually very scared about it. They get defensive and say that, well, I already have this game, we already have 800 players on Discord. If we change something, we will lose everything. That's not true. And pivoting is better than sticking to a concept that does not work. And coming back to what I would recommend for announcement, but not for real announcement, is it's your one chance, one shot, one opportunity. So try to make sure that everything is in the best possible place that you can deliver. The trailer, the page, the playable, if you can deliver it. It will be really hard to rebuild from a subpar announcement. So you need to nail it.
That Eminem reference got me already thinking if you're back to karaoke already. Do we have more questions? All right, in that case, thank you, Anton.
Thank you.